Hi, it's Hope and welcome to the video. And as you can tell by the title and the thumbnail, this is going to be my best books of 2023. Yes, it is already almost the end of January when I'm posting this. I've just had such a busy life with health problems that we're trying to figure out, school, work, recently a fucking awful breakup, but back to filming, hopefully. But I just kind of want to talk about the top 10, but also the top like 13, 14, because some of them I've grouped together because it's like, you'll get what I see, you'll get what I mean when we get there. But we'll just talk a little bit about these books, why I like them, a little bit about them, but I am going to try to keep this kind of quick, but yeah. So in the number 10 place is Shutout by Avery Keelan, which is a hockey romance. And this basically, we follow Tyler, who is a goalie of a college hockey team, and Sarah, who is Tyler's best friend's younger sister, who ends up, and basically Sarah ends up having to move in with them because she's transferring universities. And Sarah and Tyler, they had a one-night stand for Halloween a few months prior, and then they kind of go from there. And I love the characters and their dynamics. I especially loved Sarah because she is just a ADHD mess, and I relate to that so much. And Tyler, while I don't remember that much of him, I just remember him being a really good male lead, and I just remember there being something about him that I just clicked with. Do I remember what that was? No, but I remember just liking him as a character and just overall loving their relationship develop, because they played almost like a 21 questions game. It was way more than 21 questions, but that's kind of how their relationship started, was asking these random questions and getting to know each other. And yeah, I just ended up really liking it. Plus hockey romance. You'll see a few more on the list. 2023 was the year of hockey romances for me. Next is Tears in the Water by Margarita Scilia. I can never remember how to pronounce the author's name, but this basically, we are following Alex, who is going to university. I think it's their first or second year, I can't remember. And basically they only have one friend. They kind of are struggling to expand that, but then they end up meeting Tate, and the two of them start a friendship that then turns into more. And I really like this because it talks about anxiety and that type of anxiety, and also neurodivergency. And then also Tate is a trans man and Alex is kind of going through their own gender identity crisis. But it was just such a fun and wholesome read, even though it went into some deeper discussions, and it's just kind of stuck with me of a good solid book. So that's why it's at the number 9 spot. The next book is King of Wrath by Anna Huang, and I'm just gonna read the back of this book because I always struggled to describe it. Ruthless, meticulous, arrogant, billionaire CEO Dante Russo thrives on control both personally and professionally. He never planned to marry until the threat of blackmail forces him into engagement with a woman he barely knows. Vivian Lau, jewelry heiress and daughter to his newest enemy, the wife he never wanted and the weakness he never saw coming. It doesn't matter how beautiful or charming she is, Dante will do everything in his power to destroy the blackmail and their betrothal. There's only one problem: now that he has her, he can't bring himself to let her go. Elegant, ambitious, well-mannered. Vivian Lau is the perfect daughter. Vivian Lau is a perfect daughter and her family's ticket into the highest echelons of society. Marrying a blue-blooded Russo means opening doors that would otherwise remain closed to her new money parents. While the rude, elusive Dante isn't her idea of a dream partner, she agrees to their arranged marriage out of duty. Craving his touch was never part of the plan. Neither was the worst possible outcome, falling in love with her future husband. I just really like this. I am a sucker for arranged marriages, as you will see later on, with another book that features an arranged marriage. But I just really liked this. I liked the characters, I liked the dynamic, I loved them falling for each other. The smut in this was pretty good. And overall, I just really loved getting to see this relationship go from kind of being out of spite and need to an actual love between the two characters. Next is Someday Someday by Emma Scott, and this basically we follow Max, who is a ex-addict who has finally gotten his life back together after being kicked out at like 16, ending up being an addict, and then finally getting his life together, and he's working as a nurse, and then he ends up getting this opportunity to be like a private nurse for this wealthy guy who is struggling with, I think it's MS, and there he ends up meeting this guy's son, Silas, who is closeted. He had gone through conversion therapy and overall isn't really in a good mental place, was also an ex-addict, and the two of them kind of form a friendship that then slowly turns into more. And this book I really loved because it just, you see the two characters with their backgrounds that are similar but different at the same time, bond over their shared experience and struggle to figure out what that means for them, but in this like well-written and well-constructed way that just, to me, was so comforting to read about. I will say I cried in this book. I remember just being so heartbroken in some of the moments, but so joyful in others. And overall, it was a really, really, really good book, in my opinion. Next is Brutal Prince by Sophie Lark, and this is a dark mafia romance. I do quickly just want to say thank you to my friend Karina, who is She Dreams in Words on Instagram, for buying me this book for my birthday last year. I just wanted to put that out there. Thank you. We are following Callum and Ada, and they come from two rival families, but they end up basically in this like arranged marriage for the benefit of both the families, and it is very messy. It is very like they hate each other, but they also crave each other. They just it's just so good. It is very messy, but overall amazing, which is why I obviously loved it, which is why it's number 6 on this list. And the thing is, I don't really remember that much about this book in general, but I just remember when I was reading it, just being in love with the characters and the world and just being so engrossed in everything going on. So that's why I loved it. It's because I don't remember much, but I remember the feeling and the love that I had for it in the moment. Next is Icebreaker by Hannah Grace, and this basically we follow Anastasia, or Stassi as I'm going to call her, because that's the name that she goes by in the book, and Nate, and basically Stassi is a figure skater and Nate is the captain of the hockey team. And basically after a prank gone wrong at the school, the figure skaters and the hockey players end up having to share a rink, which then brings Stassi and Nate closer, and it's the two of them going from not liking each other to being friends to then more, and it's just so wonderful. And like, I just remember loving it. This is a book that I definitely read because of the book talk hype, and for me it was worth it. I loved it. I love the characters so much, and yeah. Next is Pucking Wild by Emily Rath, which is the second book in the Jacksonville Rays hockey series, which is a series of hockey romances. And this is basically Tess and Ryan's story. You meet them more in book 1, which, spoiler, we will be talking about in a little bit. But it's a age gap romance where basically Tess ends up having to move to Jacksonville, Florida from where she lived before, after because she's escaping her toxic ex-husband. And so she goes to Jacksonville, Florida to be with her best friend Rachel, and there, she's already met Ryan, but her and Ryan end up getting closer as there's an arrangement where they have to live together. And so it is him pining over her the entire time and her being like, no, he's younger, because she's in her 30s and he's 22, I believe. So there's definitely an age gap there, and I really liked it because of that, of how it's like technically reverse age gap as the trope is. He's very much a golden retriever, like, and I loved it so much. And yeah, I can't remember what I was saying. My brain went 9 miles in the wrong direction for a second there. So back to talking about the book. But I just in general loved it. I didn't love it as much as the first book in the series, but you'll get to see that why here in just a few minutes. Now on to my top 3, or technically top 6. You'll see. In the number 3 spot is Satan's Affair, Haunting Adeline, and Hunting Adeline by H.D. Carlton. Yes, I've included this entire series in one spot because I couldn't pick one. I couldn't not. If I couldn't even figure out, if I were to just do them as separate books, which one was above the others. I loved them all. Satan's Affair, basically we're following Sibby, she basically lives in this like carnival of sorts, in this like scare house, and it is a dark, smutty book. She helps kill people, and that's a really bad description, but I can't say much more without spoiling it. But I loved this book. It took a plot twist that I never would have thought. And that's, I think, why I love it, is because it was nothing like I expected it to be, but I loved it, and thus it's one of my favorites. And it's connected to Haunting Adeline, and Hunting Adeline, as a character that you see in Satan's Affair, is the main male character in Haunting and Hunting Adeline. So Haunting Adeline, basically we are following a writer named Adeline who basically she moves into this house that was given to her in her will, in like her grandma's will, and it's this kind of like creepy house right outside of town. And then she ends up getting this stalker named Zaid, and it is basically him stalking her and them ending up falling for each other. And then the second book is continuing with that. I just loved everything about this. Like, will I say, I will say this, I get why people don't like it, but I loved it. It was exactly what I wanted. It's exactly what I expected. In the first book and the second book, it went 12 miles in a direction that I didn't think it was gonna go, but I loved it. I just love how, this is gonna sound a little bit, this is gonna make me sound just a little bit mentally ill, but I love how obsessed Zaid is with Addie. Like with Adeline. Addie is the nickname that she goes by, because I'm like, okay, I don't want somebody to stalk me and like be that into me, but I'm like, I want somebody to be like, not obsessed, but just where it's like, for Zaid, Addie is his main focus, his main motivation, his lifeline almost. And I love that. And I just love it so much. I love these 3 books so much. I will definitely be doing a reread of them sometime here in 2024 because I loved them that much. In the number 2 spot is Losers Part 1 and Part 2. I could not separate these in my brain. They are one book. They are one book in my brain. So basically, Losers Part 1 and 2 is the continuation of The Dare by Harley LaRoe, which I can't put on this list because I read it in 2021 or 2022. I can't remember, for the first time. It was one of the two. But that was basically like a erotic Halloween novella where we follow this girl named Jess. It's like a college party. and she ends up basically hooking up with this guy that she used to bully in high school named Manson, and also his 3 friends that she also bullied. And then that's kind of that novella. And then this book, and then Losers Part 1 and 2 takes place, I think it's about 2.5 years later after Jess is done college. She moves back to her hometown and ends up reuniting with these guys, Manson, Jason, Vincent, and Lucas, and ends up forming this giant polyamorous kinky relationship that, but just, it is so good because you see these different dynamics, because Jess has these 4 different relationships. She has the relationship that she has with each of the individual guys, but then also Manson and Lucas have like a, it is a romantic relationship, but it's also not, it's hard to explain. And then Vincent and Jason have this like already formed like romantic like connection, and then like it's just, there's so many different dynamics of different levels of love and lust, and just there's so many different dynamics that it's even hard to pinpoint them exactly, because throughout the books it varies, and it's just so complex in that, and it's like a true like polyamorous like relationship that just is so well written and so well thought out that I loved it, because it also had so many dark elements that just I loved, while also being lighthearted in some ways, and I just loved it so much. This is again something I probably will be rereading soon. Honestly, I'm sitting here like, I might reread it sooner than I thought, because as I'm thinking about this, I'm like, fuck, I just want to reread it. Next read maybe? Who knows? And so, you know how I mentioned that the first book in the Jacksonville Rays series was going to be mentioned in this list, right? Well, we're in the #1 spot, so that goes to Pucking Around by Emily Rath, which is the first book in the Jacksonville Rays hockey series. And I fucking loved this book. For reference, I read it twice in 2 months. I have never done that before. Not even with my all-time favorite book. Never. This is probably my, I want to say my 2nd favorite book. Ooh. Yeah, this is probably my 2nd favorite book of all time. Yeah, it's above ACOMAF, which is now #3, I guess. Fuck. But Pucking Around, basically we follow Rachel, who ends up getting this job opportunity to be a physical therapist for the Jacksonville Rays hockey team, which is a new expansion team for the NHL. She ends up having to move to Jacksonville, Florida for this, and there she ends up re-meeting this guy, Jake, that she had a one-night stand in Seattle a few months prior with. And then she also meets Caleb, who is the team's equipment manager and also Jake's best friend. And then Ilmari, who is the team's goalie. And basically Rachel ends up falling for each of them in their own ways. And then also Caleb has been in love with Jake for years and years and years, and that finally happens. Jake ends up realizing his feelings for Caleb, and so it is this very interesting kind of, some of my favorite parts of it is the poly relationship, because it is very complex and very interesting, because Rachel loves all 3 of the guys, and then Caleb and Jake love each other, and it is very unique. I don't think I have read any other book like this. It has so many different topics and all of that just end up being discussed so well, and I From the moment I heard about this book, I was like, I'm gonna read it, I'm going to enjoy it, but I didn't think it would be like up there in my like absolute favorites. I actually got an ARC of this, so I got to read it like 2 weeks, I think, before the release date, which I honestly love because it's one of my favorite books ever. And I'm gonna really start fucking crying thinking about it. Jesus fuck. But like, I fell in love with the characters so much. They are some of my favorite characters. And I can't even put into words how this book makes me feel. I actually got 2 of my friends to read it last year and they both loved it too. So I'm just so happy that not only I love this book, but other people I know love this book. So yeah, so that is my top 10 plus some books that are my favorites of 2023. Why don't you let me know in the comments below if you've read any of these books and what your thoughts are on them, or what was your favorite book of 2023? I'd love to know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Again, I hope to be better with content, but no promises. But I do hope I see you in my next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, as it really helps my channel grow. And thank you so much for watching, and bye!